Navigating today's real estate market can be tricky. Want to buy or sell a house, finance or insure a house, or stuck with a house and don't know what to do? Florida Talk Real Estate has been your local one-stop real estate shop since 2012. Get the advice you need from your local real estate pros. Here are your hosts, Jim DePola and Johnny C. live on Real Radio.
Yeah, that's right. Saturday morning. That means time for 2 hours of infotainment. Great to have you with us. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're on the old terrestrial radio, 92.1, maybe 101.7. Thank you very much. Of course, if you ever free download your iHeartRadio app, we are worldwide and we do live stream every Saturday. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube. You're looking for Florida Talk Real Estate on both. Facebook, streaming live. Great to have you out the gates. And of course, if you're on YouTube, Florida Talk Real Estate LLC, home of a ton of informational chunk videos. And we go streaming live. 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday. I'm your boy, Johnny C., your air traffic control. You got a toll-free number. You want to be a part of the show? Questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate? Hit us up at 877-927-6969. Again, I'm your boy, Johnny C., our producer extraordinaire, the one who will answer that call and get you lined up for on air. That's Jimothy over there. How are you, my friend?
Doing mighty fine, Johnny. I hope you are as well. Good to be with you here on a Saturday, as always.
Great to have you with us, and good to be seen. We are back in studio. If you're tuning in for the first time in a few weeks, that's right, back in the Real Radio 921 studios. If you're like, oh, it looks a little different for the guys streaming, no, that's why. But the guys are still the same, including the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm, my friend Mike Rauch. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Johnny. Steve, doing great. I wonder if anyone's missing my kitchen. Probably, right? Yes. Some people, at least.
It was a nice kitchen.
Maybe my mom.
It was nice, spacious. I like the island.
Yeah.
It was always bright, so it felt like a nice, sunny South Florida morning.
Yeah.
My dream kitchen, have an island with a sink in it.
And it's bright. It's white. It's just,
Yeah, I don't have a sink in it, but I do have my range on it.
Oh, there's no sink.
Oh, is that
No sink. The sink is behind the range.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember back in school, I remember I had a drafting class, and the instructor he was an old school guy, and he talked about what was called the woman's work triangle, which is the distance between the sink, the refrigerator, and the range or the stove.
Right.
And that you wanted that to be a nice tight triangle, right, so that you were efficient in the kitchen.
Yes.
Now I'm sure that it changed. No longer the woman's work triangle. It's probably just the work triangle. But I think the principle applies.
Well, yeah, your principal is dinner with everybody on the table if we have problems, right?
Oh, I think he was a single man, so
I wonder why.
yeah.
Some things do just kind of piece together.
I'm trying to remember his name, but that's funny though. It's funny what sticks with you. And I just thought of that when we talked about the sink in the island.
And you are a young man, Mike. So this is not like we're not going into the Wayback Machine.
No. He was in the Wayback Machine,
yes.
for sure. I mean, he had us still. We were doing this was in the world of CAD, right? Computer aided drafting, and we were still using pencils and parallel. What do you call them?
Protractors.
Protractors.
Sure.
Line thickness on your pencil. Right?
Oh my goodness.
That was a good time though. Great class. I loved it.
I like architectural design.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's continue around before we get too derailed on this Saturday morning.
Too late.
Speaking of the woman's triangle, I don't know how I transitioned from that to our fearless leader, but I'm gonna go ahead and sure try. Is that what you called it? What did you call it?
It was. I didn't call it. I coined the term, but it's the woman's work triangle.
Oh, the work triangle.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had woman triangle and just went a totally different place. Here it is. Our fearless leader for over it's past 11 years now on this radio station, telling you about everything that can be done with this team. And our leader, the head of the snake, you might say, is my friend, your friend, Jim DePola. He runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations, you'll find the Florida Home Pros team. I call him Jimmy D. How you be, Jimmy D?
Hey, I'm doing good, Johnny. I'm doing good. Happy belated birthday, dude.
Well, belated, thank you very much. And since we're belated, Greek's coming up next. He had a birthday Sunday.
Oh, I did not know that. Happy birthday, Greek, too. Happy birthday to the Greek, too.
Jimmy's going coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Coming up pretty soon, yeah.
Oh, pretty cool.
I mean, Johnny's that's really belated, right? A couple weeks back.
Yeah, it's actually probably 2 weeks now. 10 days.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
How old did you turn, Johnny?
Oh,
Yeah?
yeah, 48.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
not bad. Almost
What?
50.
Not
Not quite
bad.
50.
Yeah.
Not quite 50.
Oh.
That's probably 96 midlife. Yeah, right. You're right at midlife.
I'll take it.
It's time for a crisis.
Time for You know me long enough.
You mean the second one, right?
I was gonna say, you know me long enough.
No, a real one.
When do I get out of crisis mode?
Did you sell the Corvette yet?
Still in a 2012 Kia Soul,
Nice.
131,000 miles.
That's hot.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So much.
I was going to make fun of that reference that Mike was talking about, the woman's triangle thing too, because it's like, really?
Oh, so antiquated.
Yeah, Cook's triangle.
Yeah.
It's the Cook's triangle.
Cook's triangle.
Nice.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
home chef.
We all know the woman's work triangle is like by the laundry machine, right?
Oh boy.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Look, the phone lines are blowing up.
877-927-696.
Call. Let us know. Yikes.
We've got a lot to talk about this week. Mortgage interest rates are becoming news again. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what's happening in the economy. Last week we talked a little bit about it towards the end, but I really wish Johnny was here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the national economy because Johnny has very strong opinions about that, and I like hearing his opinions. We're going to talk about one of the things we'll mention is about the town of Palm Beach, how they just set a new record across the country. We're also going to talk about, sometimes when we think about all the stress down here in Florida, we forget that we live on the beach, dude.
We do.
And there was a new top 10 beaches in the world that came out. So we're going to go over that list. Florida came up there a couple of times. So just to remind us all. And last but not least, and it probably won't be last, is we're going to talk with Mike about FHA home loans and trying to buy a condo with that and the process about that, because we're going through that a lot right now with first-time home buyers. And as we talk about the mortgage rate changes and everything, this would be really great advice for buyers and for sellers and for people that just have a mortgage at all and they don't know if they should be refining or cashing out and refining and things like that. So we're going to talk about all of that today. I wanted just to give a couple of shout outs first. Shout out to Karen. Karen came to us to ask to do a rental property down at Lighthouse Point. We don't do that many rental properties, to be honest with you, with this team, especially in Lighthouse Point. But not that Lighthouse Point is bad; it's just a convenience factor. But Karen is a very special person because Karen came to us through Chris and Amy, and Chris and Amy came to us from the radio show years back. And we helped Chris, I think, sell 2 properties and buy another property, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2. We sold 2 properties, bought another property. Then he referred us to us a bunch of his co-workers, which we really appreciated. We closed Megan and Dylan late last year. And we're working with Amber right now. In fact, Mike, I talked to Amber yesterday, so I'll give you an update later.
Okay.
And so thank you, Chris, for all the huge support to the show.
Shout out to Chris.
Yeah, very big thing. And so anyway, Karen came to us and she needed to rent a property down at Lighthouse Point. Had a kind of interesting thing about that. Maybe we'll get into this show or a show in the future. What do you do when you have this kind of applicant come in for your landlord case? But let's just say the FBI was called for real in this one. So that was kind of interesting case.
Did you keep a bunch of documents from the White House?
No.
But so you say rental, but you were helping her rent the place out. So she owned the property and was trying to find a renter.
Yeah. The next thing you know, we're calling the FBI. So it gets a little crazy.
I didn't know you had them on speed dial.
Exactly. Right. So
Agent, what is it from the Matrix? Agent.
I watched them all, but I don't remember their names. I'm very bad at names.
Is it Anderson?
Jimmy?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
None of us know the
not the Matrix.
The villain and I don't know. I think it is.
I think it's Anderson.
Yeah, I don't know.
It
might be.
I only watched the first one.
Yeah. You only watched the first one?
Like intently. Like the other ones I was just like
like the John Wicks. John Wicks are awesome.
I do.
I haven't seen
the
I haven't seen the John Wicks yet.
John Wicks. I binge those all the time.
Oh, do you?
They're good enough to watch. If like it's on, you can just sit and watch it.
It's
no matter how many times you see it.
It's not a lot of dialogue. It's just a lot of gunplay.
Yeah. And some legitimate looking jujitsu. If you can believe.
For real. Yeah. For real fighting. Yeah. Sorry, Jim.
That's okay. So, Karen, we put the place. It was funny. It's a rental, right? And it's a nice rental because it's on It's on a finger canal that can get you to their coastal pretty fast at Lighthouse Point. It's such centrally located. It's east of US 1, big apartment complex. But it was on the market for like 17 days before we got a renter. And we didn't get an offer for the first 10 days. I was just very surprised because we know how strong the rental market is down here right now.
Yeah.
She ended up getting the full amount. We didn't end up going with the FBI guy, but she ended up getting another tenant. She just put him under contract, and I think they moved in Thursday. So congratulations to Karen.
Awesome.
And she sent me a really nice note saying, thank you so much for all your hard work and everything of trying to make it happen. So congratulations, Karen. We had a funny phone call last week, an interesting phone call last week, Johnny. Do you remember our first year on the show that I was working at Remax back then, right?
Yeah.
And one of my first real estate transactions on the show, the police came and the police started trying to hunt me down. Do you remember that?
Oh man, that is like sort of.
Yeah, it's like, how do you remember?
Yeah.
So what happened was somebody called last week and said, hey, this is Anthony. I don't know if you remember me. And I don't know how I pull this out of my memory because it was like 700 transactions ago.
Probably the voice.
And no, to be honest with you, I don't know why, but when he said Anthony, he said I was one of my first customers. You know, I have like this Terminator brain. I started scrolling back, and then I remembered his name, and I almost said it out on air. And I don't like using last people's names on air.
Right.
So I said, "Does your name start with a C? Your last name?" He goes, "Yes." So anyway, Anthony, if you remember, Anthony was one of our first short sale clients back in 2012, and there was a court order from a judge from a divorce saying that they had to sell the property, right? And Anthony was living there, the ex-wife was not. And I took the listing, all excited. It was one of the first, it might have been the first or second listing from the show total ever, right? For Florida Talk Real Estate.
Definitely going to be the first short sale then.
Yeah, it was going to be like, if not the first, like right there, because we didn't know how long they were going to take back then.
Right.
And I all excited. We get a company to go and sync the sign, and the sign's there. And I'm out on the road doing whatever I'm doing. The next thing I know, the broker calls me from Boca, and she says, "Jim, the Boynton Beach Police Department are here." Now this is in Boca, so they drove all the way to the brokerage in Boca, the Boynton Beach Police. And ironically, the police officers that were, quote, looking for me actually knew who I was because of my former career at the Sun Sentinel. And I thought the broker was joking with me because it was like I was brand new, right? And they weren't joking. The wife got really mad because I didn't have her signature on the listing agreement too. So he agreed to sell it. The judge ordered that it be sold. But under state law, you have to have both principals, of course. And now that I look back on this, it's like, duh, how could you not know this? But I didn't.
Right.
And I signed the
green.
Yeah. And
I think it's funny, like Jim in his former career, it would have been a good office joke. Hey, the police are here for you, but not in the real estate office. Jim. They don't joke around like that.
Well, the police had come more than one time. The police had come to my work office at the Sentinel too.
Yeah.
That's happened also. But I thought the broker was actually joking with me, and she wasn't joking. And the lady was really, really mad, and she didn't like that I was hired. But I don't know, even remember how it worked out, but I was hired, and I stayed on the job. And we sold it, and we had him walk away debt-free. And he said on the air, and I forgot this, we used this as part of our marketing campaign during short sales. Because we did the short sale the right way, he only had a 40-point drop on his credit score through that whole process, right? Losing a house over, I don't know how upside down it was. It's too long ago to remember, but it was significantly upside down. And his credit score dropped 40 points, and he said about a year later it had come right back up to where it was before, if not higher.
Yeah.
And everything worked out great.
And if you're putting together your encyclopedia of tips for real estate agents, it's make sure all sellers are wanting to sell.
Yes.
Yeah. Make sure all parties are interested in selling the property.
Yes, exactly. And it did happen. And the worst thing was that the ex-wife worked for a law firm. So all I heard was lawsuit, 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 lawsuit through the whole thing. But I kept my head. and we got it done, and
Yeah.
it was good.
No lawsuit.
But it was just so wild, and you forget how many people's lives the show has impacted over the years. Really,
Yeah.
we've helped a lot of people. We've helped people we don't even know. Like we'll call somehow they'll call us, and like 7 years later, and it's like, oh yeah, I've been listening to your show, and then I took your advice and did this or that or this.
Sure.
So we are your one-stop real estate shop. So if you have any questions at all, live on the show right now.
Go pick up your phone, dial it up. Timothy's standing over there waiting for the phone.
Yes, Judy's waiting for the phone call.
877-927-6969. That is toll free. You make that call. We'll take that call. Questions, comments, concerns in the world of real estate. Don't be shy. And of course, you want to jump in the conversation, you're welcome to do just that. Of course, always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. We call it your one-stop real estate shop for a reason because, well, you have access to a team of pros. These are experts in their fields, and they work cohesively together. Learn for yourself. Buying a home, selling a home, stuck with a home you don't know what to do, struggling with your property insurance. It is tax time. Maybe you have legal issues. Maybe you're like, oh, short sale. That sounds familiar. I don't know what the issue is. I always like to say, Jim, people's situations are like snowflakes, right?
Mhm.
They're very unique to you. We probably have some options for you. Go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Options are important, but having people that are really good at what they do lead you and give you advice. That's the most important thing right there. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
So I want to get into mortgage rates, and I'm trying to decide if we should just get right into the mortgage rates to talk about that first, and then talk about what's happening with the national economy because they're so tied closely together. So what's your guys' vote? National economy first or mortgage rates first?
Mortgage.
Mortgage rates. Okay. So
I didn't get a vote.
No, you got no vote.
yeah.
I was still considering.
Okay. What are
Okay.
you thinking?
No, I think that's fine. So talk about the rates, and then we can say, well, why is that happening?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So here's the thing with the mortgage rates. Okay. So we got up to 6.65 yesterday. That's pretty high historically for us over the last, well, since 2008.
Yeah.
So how many years is that? 8 minus
15.
23 is 15
Yeah.
years. Yeah. So we haven't seen these rates for a while is what I'm trying to say here. But just like I've been talking about for months now, we are in very choppy waters. So I started looking at the mortgage rates on the chart just to see what trends we had last time we went through this at this rate we're at now, and what happened then, and how we built up to that rate, and what happened after we built up to that rate. That was back in October, November last year is when we were going through that. And I wanted to see if there was anything that we can kind of predict about what's happening right now with this rate. So, Johnny, I'll wait for you to open up that.
I'm not gonna do
So
it.
don't go into it.
Don't do it.
Do it right in the mic.
Yeah, they're right there. So we're at 6.65. That's about a half a point increase in the last 2.5, 3 weeks. Okay, so half a point is a pretty big deal because everybody on the show knows every time the interest rate goes up 1 point, buyers lose about 10% of their purchase price.
Big chunk.
So purchase power. Yeah. So when it is a big chunk, so a half a point is 5% purchase power. So if you were good for 500,000 last week, everything else being the same, or over the last 3 weeks, if you were good at 6 for 500,000, now you're only good for 475. Everything else being equal with the higher interest rates, correct, Mike? That's rough numbers.
Yeah. I mean, rough numbers, but pretty much, yeah. So
Yeah.
rate goes up half a point. Your payment goes up, and if you're hitting your max payment, you've hit that limit sooner, essentially.
So we've been through this a couple of times last year, and this year we're going through it again. So I went back to see the last time we were at 6.65 just to see what was going on and how we got there last time, and then what happened afterwards. So during a period of October 10th, basically through November 10th of last year, that's when we got to 6.65. And then what happened was it increased it increased all the way up to 7.08, which got us to about November 10th, November 17th. And then that was our high for the year of 2022 in November. And then what we watched is from November, basically you see a slight downhill bunny ski slope, not a steep incline, but a bunny ski slope kind of thing. I'm not a skier. But a gradual decline that got us all the way down to 6.09. So a 1 point, but it took us like 3 months to do that, right? And then we kind of stayed there for
So
about,
we're like February now.
yeah. So, right. And then in February is just about the time where we started seeing it just tick up a little bit, like 0.08, then 0.15, then another 0.15, and voila, we just got a half a point higher. Okay. So,
It's been a slow, well, I don't know about slow, but it's been increasing basically since the Fed's latest announcement of their quarter point increase on the bank-to-bank lending rate, right? So it was kind of anticipated that Fed did what they did. There was some, positive economic news, but we're kind of just slowly following that trend, right? Just they bumped it, and look at the mortgage rates bumped
so
as a result.
that's right, Mike. And if we went through the same trend, I'm not saying we're going to, but if we went through the same trend that that we went through last time, and if it lasts as long, we could be looking at like 7.5, right? Breaking where we were last year.
And then another drop to 6.5.
Well, maybe
Right, if the
that
trend
could
continues,
happen
right?
about the choppy waters.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about, the choppy waters. But what I'm wondering is, are we going to go past that 7.08 this time and go even higher? And then and then see if it starts adjusting down from there again.
Right.
Here's another thing that we saw last time we were in this interest rates. Sales right now, not necessarily prices, we're going to get into that later, but sales are very sensitive to the mortgage rates right now. They weren't as sensitive back under 5%. If people were getting 3.75 or 4.25, it didn't really seem anybody was out of the market. Nobody was like, I'm not paying 4.25, I'm waiting. Very few people were like that. Do you feel that that's kind of true, Mike?
Yeah, I agree.
But then,
4 wasn't a scary number, right? The first
I mean,
number.
it was scary if you were looking at threes. I'm like, any increases are definitely, if you're a buyer in the market, you're very conscious of this, and you don't want to see changes in the rate.
Right.
If you're just kind of peripherally watching it, then almost certainly you're behind. Like I still talk to people who think the rates were coming down. Like even this week, talking like, hey, rates have been dropping, right? Because the national news is kind of like,
yeah, because they're always behind.
yeah, they're behind. I'm like, no, actually, we're like on a 3-week run where they've been slightly increasing, right? But it's interesting. Maybe it's a psychological effect that it has on the market, Jim, because you could feel it, right? The calls that you're taking, people got a sense that rates were on the decline, and they're like, okay, now let's get back in, let's strike while the iron's hot. And now it's going to be the opposite effect, where it's like, oh, well, rates back on the rise, so now I'm going to stand back. And it's just I think, Jim, we would say you can't like operate that way, right? Like you're either in the market or you're not in the market. Like, you can't operate based on what are the rates doing, what's next on the rates. You just have to get into, I always say, get into an affordable payment. And if you are in the market, you definitely need to be ready to make an offer, right? You need to be ready to lock in your rate, and certainly floating an interest rate if you have a close date is probably never a good idea.
Right.
But
if the interest rates are affecting you in any way, you're trying to do a refi, you don't want to because you feel like you got too low of an interest rate, but you want to do a cash out refi if you're a buyer, and you really feel like these interest rates are squeezing you, or you're a seller and you're worried about the interest rates affecting the sale property. We'd love to talk to you live on air. All you got to do is call 877-927-6969 and just tell us about your experience of what you're seeing in the real estate market. If interest rates are impacted your life in any way, we'd love to hear how all this wonky stuff is affecting people in real life. That's what we're all about here. So all you got to do is call 877-927-6969. And of course, you could always catch us off air anytime you want, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. So the last time we went through, go ahead, Mike.
yeah, I was going to say one more thing on that. If you are a buyer out there, like very typical, someone would be out there with a generic pre-approval letter, just like a general, like, hey, I did a pre-approval and I got my letter that says I'm good for $450,000. You have to remember you're qualified for a payment, and so this rate movement, even though it sounds a little bit scary, ominous, it does affect like the maximum that you qualify for, and so you really need to be conscious of what's the payment going to be on the specific house that you're trying to offer on. So you got to have a dynamic relationship between your agent, the loan originator, and the buyer to make sure ultimately that you're getting into a contract that can close.
Mhm.
And that general outdated, month-old, 2-month-old pre-approval letter really isn't a strong indicator of whether you can buy that home or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to offer some more tips on that, but what I want to explain to people is the last time we went through this, the interest rates actually went up 2 points before they stopped. 2 points, okay? October, November. We went from just under like 4.99 to 7.08 in that
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
a
It was
short
basically
period.
August
Mhm.
to
Yeah, August.
November.
Thank you. August through November, we went up
Yeah.
2 points, and we didn't stop. Basically, there was a couple little drags where we flattened out, but we were on a march north, right? We were on a upward march situation. So if that's what's happening right now, if we get another 2 points, that's why I'm saying we could get to that 7.5 or higher interest rate before we peak out again. And that might not even, if we were talking about stagflation or anything, which nobody is at this point, that could just be a little tiny step on a big mountain that we're going up if it gets to like that. But so what you have to do is you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in this market. Nobody does. Even the Swami doesn't know exactly what's going to happen in this market. Next week, we could start seeing some flattening out again. It can continue to march upwards. And if it's going to go like that, that's where Mike's information comes in really, really important. If you're a seller, my advice as an agent is if you're a seller right now, my opinion is it's better to put the house on the market than wait as long as you can. I mean, I don't mean wait as long as you can. As long as you can put the house on the market, you should put the house on the market. If you're thinking of selling, you should sell it as soon as you can, right? Because what we know right now is while we're in this choppy water and interest rates are going to start going up and going down, and we've been seeing this now for almost a year, we know that timing is going to be very difficult in this market. So if you're trying to time the market, by the time you find the realtor, you stage the property, you get it on the market, and you do all the things you need to do, even if you're a fast realtor that can put it on the market really fast. Karen's rental apartment, she met with us on a Thursday, and Friday it was on the market because we knew that she had a time sensitive thing. But if you don't have an agent that's can do the Zoom thing and get it really done really fast, by the time you get everything set up and staged and ready to go, we might start seeing a 0.5 point increase over 2 weeks, 0.5 point, 2 weeks. And all of a sudden your house might not be valued the same, or it might still be worth what it's worth, but it's going to take way longer to sell because there's so much fewer buyers because they're not jumping into the market because it's I'm not paying that rate. I'll wait for it to come down. And we've already seen that happen. This is not wondering. We saw that happen last year, Mike.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's if you talk about the peaks, right? It's hard to know exactly where the peak is, but you're somewhere around it potentially, right? You're either leading up to it or you're coming off of it. But you want to be closer to the peak, Johnny, if you're trying to sell, than to the valley, right?
Yeah.
It's where's the valley? I don't know. What does the Swami say? He can't say, right? But not with any reliability. But yeah, if I were a seller, if I were we always ask this question: do you sell now or do you sell 6 months from now? I mean, that seems like an easy.
And the reason why we have a caller, so just hold on here 1 second. But if the thing you have to worry about as a seller is you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But right now, what we do know is that prices kind of are holding tight. We're going to get into that in a little bit. I'm going to use a real life example live on the MLS day, which will be fun.
It's about
Just
pool
to
of
see.
buyers. What it's about.
It really
Yeah.
is, right? Right now it is. But later, it could be lack of buyers dropping prices.
Sure,
That
well,
could happen.
You could get both.
But
Sure.
right now, what we're having is lack of buyers, but prices kind of holding tight as long as you're not unrealistic. So that's where the people, when they're trying to swami the market, if you will, and predict what's going to happen in the future, that's how you can end up getting burned. So I'm sorry, Jimmy, do we have a caller on there?
Sure, we do. You put out the bat signal
Yes.
for people to give us a call in about how interest rates are affecting them, and Darlene did just that. Darlene, welcome to Florida Talk Real Estate.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Darlene. How are you?
Hi, great. So can you hear me okay, first off?
Yes, we can hear you good, Darlene. Thank you so much for calling the show. How are you doing today? How can we help you?
Okay, so I put a house on the market 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Staged everything. It's doing great. Well, when I say it's doing great, the house is doing great sitting there with nobody looking at the house, because it's almost like I waited 1 week too late to put the house on the market. The interest rates went up, and it's really just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And in 6 months, I've only had 3 showings on that house.
3 showings in 6 months?
And what 6 months, and it's a great house. New house is we barely lived in the house. But what I found is in that 6 months, new builders have started building.
Mm-hmm.
So now the problem is, are you going to do that interest rate for a house that's 3 years old, 3 years and 6 months, versus the incentives that the buyers are giving, where they're telling people that, hey, we can give you a 4 point something interest rate, when in real life, that's not what the interest rate truly is for real life situations for people that's not buying into a new community.
It's Darlene, yes, I totally understand what you're saying, Darlene. It's very difficult when you're trying to sell basically a new construction home in a community that isn't finished yet, or a community right across the street or nearby is building new construction and your house is only a couple years old. I did that twice in 2020, maybe 2021, but I did 2 of those places. One was a townhome in Boca. Let me tell you, it's not fun trying to sell a townhome where you're building 30 new townhomes and they're not built yet, and the buyers can go in and pick their finishes and everything, and pick everything, or buy the new construction home where the seller has already chosen all that for you.
It takes a lot of your negotiating power away from you as a seller.
Well, also you have to be creative in the advertising of trying to find the people that there are people out there that would love to have the brand new home but can't wait.
True.
And that's who you're looking for, Darlene. Those are your buyers, are the ones that want the new construction, don't want to wait. And you have to have a marketing plan to do that, right? There has to be a way to market to find those people. And that's what a top agent would do in that kind of situation. But even with me knowing that going in, both of those cases were very difficult. And I remember the one in Boca, the lady was very, very difficult. And I got the house sold twice. And the first time she got a very, very good price, but she wasn't happy with it because what she kept saying at the time, the developers raising the prices in the neighborhoods. Therefore, I want to raise my price too. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. But I got her a very good price. She turned it down. And she came to me a year later and said, Jim, can you sell my house again? And she ended up getting like 8% less than she would have got if she had just sold it the first time, right? And she did, because at that point she had a financial need to sell, which was really sad. She could have made like $30,000 more, $35,000 more by taking the advice.
And we've been holding steady. We just, pay the mortgage on it because we, still have the other house that we live in, and just we're holding out. I don't want to throw a renter in it. I want to sell it. And if I have a realtor and they have all these marketing strategies, and I promise in 6 months we've only had 3 showings.
Yeah, and you said the house is vacant?
It is.
Oh my gosh. So it's just sitting there. Yeah, just sitting there.
It's just sitting there.
Yeah. Well, Darlene, the way that the law works is, if you're working with the realtor, I can't solicit any business from you. Okay. But if you ever get to the point where that listing gets canceled or expired, or if you need a second opinion on what you should do, I'm able to offer that for you. Okay. If that's of interest to you.
I can tell you, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com is the hub of amazing pros. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
And the other thing you should be doing, probably, Darlene, is having a mortgage company promote the property with the kind of financing that's out there right now, right? So I don't know where the property is or the price point or anything, but maybe You could start promoting it to Hometown Heroes programs where people can get significant down payment assistance from the state of Florida, not from you. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say Darlene, there's ways. Jim's talking about marketing. So there's like when you get into the nitty gritty, like how do you make your property attractive to buyers, more attractive than the other ones that you're competing against? And some people, yeah, they're based on interest rate. A lot of people need help with cash, right? And so you can structure deals in a way where you're offering some help to the buyers to help them buy your property that's move-in ready. It's interesting because we were talking about like how the rates affect the buyers, and you said 6 months. So she's talking about like September, October timeframe, which is right when rates started to spike up. And she's like, I missed it by a week. I think she's probably right. Like the rates scared off a lot of buyers the end of the year. But I wouldn't give up at all, darling. Your home can sell for sure, and you need to talk to anybody about it. I mean, we're here to talk about it, but yeah, there's ways that you can get the thing done. And
yeah, and you have discounts on insurance because of the age of the house that other people don't have. You have so many attributes that you could be promoting to people to make them aware. I don't even know what kind of loan you have. I don't want to get into it right now over the air, but maybe you have a loan that could be assumable, right? Maybe you have an assumable loan that you could offer. There's so many things that you have to explore to find out how to make your house separate from the pack.
Yeah.
Out there. The other thing you need to do is the realtor should be comping your competition that's used homes. So what can they get for a used home that's in my price range, and actually looking at them very, very hard to see how your house competes with other people's houses, right? So that you can make an informed decision. Being on the market 6 months, unfortunately, in today's market is not that unusual anymore. However, having 3 showings in 6 months, there's some kind of problem there.
Yeah.
There's a problem there. Okay, something's going on. It's either, and I'm not saying it's the realtor. I'm not beating anybody up. I'm not even saying it's you, Darlene. Okay, but it's either a price point issue or it's a marketing issue, because those are the 2 things that get the house sold. Is that, are you priced correctly? I'm not talking about low. Okay, I'm not talking about selling the house low. I'm talking about what are the houses selling in your neighborhood, in your condition, in your size. And if you're right in the pack of there, your house is going to sell. Right. And then the other thing is, are you marketing it to the right people? Does that all make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And I'm just waiting on this realtor just to run out. So I can try something new. I've been giving her. Yes, sir.
No, go ahead. You've given her.
Oh, I said I'm even giving it, like you said, an incentive, a financial incentive to help the buyer. I'm doing that as well.
Wow.
So,
well, let me just say, we're going to get off topic here, but I wanted to ask you a question, because this is very common, and this is kind of like how you make the sausage kind of question, so you don't hear about this talked about too much. When you signed your agreement, do you know if you signed an agreement, if there was a way for you to get out of the agreement if you weren't satisfied?
Well, fortunately, I don't. Maybe in a few weeks, my agreement will be expired.
I understand that, but I was just asking in general.
I thought about that as well.
About the contract, but do you know, like, if you wanted, I'm not asking you to cancel the contract, I'm talking hypothetically here, but when you signed the contract, did you know when you signed the contract what clauses in there that says what will happen if you're not happy with the services of the brokerage? What would happen if you wanted to cancel? Because that's the point I'm trying to make, Darlene, and that's the way most people are. They have no idea what their contract says if they're not happy with the services, right? It's really, really very not talked about situation among realtors with their customers, it seems like. I don't know why. I talk about it all the time in my listing presentation. I show them the paragraph. And a lot of the brokerages will basically hold a seller's property hostage. So let's say that Darlene wasn't happy at month 3 and she had a 6-month listing, and she wanted to go to the realtor and say, I'm sorry, I don't want to work with you anymore. I want to find somebody else. I'm not happy with your services. Depending on the type of listing agreement they have, the realtor could say, that's okay. If you don't want to sell it, we have a 6-month agreement. So for the next 3 months, I'm going to put it temporarily off market. That's what the designation will be on the MLS. which means anybody searching for an active property will not see that property until my listing expires. And when my listing expires, you can do whatever you want, Darlene, right? Other ones will allow you to cancel the contract, but they will want a fee. I do that, to be honest with you. I have a small fee in there because I want people to know, hey, I'm taking your listing and I'm working for you, and we have an agreement, and I'm going to work really hard for you. But I also tell them a way that they don't have to pay that fee if they're not happy with my services, right? Which makes me different from a lot of realtors out there. So that's another thing I just want to bring out to all the sellers out there, because I'm sure there's a lot of sellers out there thinking, you know what? I'm in the same boat as Darlene, because Darlene, I know you're not alone. Okay, you're not alone in your situation. I look at the MLS every day, at hundreds and hundreds of properties every day. I see what's going on in the market. Make sure you talk to your realtor about the bad stuff that could happen before you get into the contract with the realtor to sell your house. Well, if I'm not happy with your services, what's going to happen, Jim? Right? And ask those questions.
Yeah. Just like asking the pertinent questions like, show me your stats, show me what you do, show me your production. They're all important questions, right?
Well, Darlene, I hope you felt that the information we gave you was a little bit, give you a little insight. I don't know how much help we gave you, but hopefully we gave you some insight today. If you do have any questions off air about the mortgage process or anything like that to help try to figure out incentives for your house, give us a call. If you need quotes for property insurance, that's another thing you should be doing, is getting property insurance quotes. Do you have property insurance quotes right now on your property?
I don't have them. I don't.
Yeah, you should do that. You should do that with every single one of our listings. We asked Ross Ramirez for Brightwing Insurance, Daytona Beach, the only Brightwing Insurance office, Daytona Beach. And Ross actually gives us a insurance quote that we put with the listing. That gives you two benefits. Number one, I'd be promoting how cheap your insurance is compared to everybody else's because your house is so new. And the other thing is that it helps the buyer's mortgage broker or loan officer determine what they really could afford because they have a real quote from an insurance policy and not an estimate. That helps you out, Mike, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bottom line is you have to get qualified for the financing. And so the insurance component is a big piece of, are they going to qualify, right? It impacts the total monthly payment. So anything you can do to assure that your contract, once you get into it, actually closes will help the process for sure.
Absolutely. So Darlene, I wish you the best of luck. And like I said, we're here to offer any services that you need, whenever you need it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Darlene.
Thanks, Darlene. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop.
Just shows you how the stuff we talk about on air happens in real life. You know, when we say this, we're not making this stuff up. It's real. And we don't know Darlene. Darlene called because she was asking for help. And what happened to her, unfortunately, is exactly what you have to be worried about in today's market. These choppy waters where things are going up and going down and up and down. If you don't know how to handle that, and you don't have a professional team that knows how to handle it, you can get washed under and get sucked under by the undertow. Maybe that's what we'll call it, the financial undertow that's going on right now.
The riptide?
Yeah, the riptide, right? Yep. So let's see. Timothy, I guess we're just going to plow through until 10 o'clock, if you don't mind. So let's talk a little bit about, getting back to the tips, okay? So if you're a seller, as Darlene just said, Darlene was a perfect example why you should try to get your house on the market earlier than later. But you also should have a very good plan on how to do that, okay? So for sellers, we got that. Now the buyer, Mike mentioned a lot of really important stuff there. But here are some things that on our team that we strongly recommend to do if you're a buyer in today's market, okay? Number one, get qualified so you're ready to go now. Okay, I'm not saying you have to buy right now. I have so many people saying, I want to buy in 6 months. Mike, I'm calling people all the time. Yeah, I'm going to do something, but not until the end of the year.
Yeah, sometime this year.
Yeah, sometime this year, maybe next spring.
And sometimes that's based on like, hey, I have at least through this month, or hey, my job slows down in this month, or after school lets out, we're going to do something. So those are all legitimate reasons why someone would be waiting.
That's true, but you have to have the plan, and the way that you have the plan is if you get ready now, right? So like what I mean by that is you have the meeting with the mortgage company, Mike Rauch for the mortgage firm, right?
Yep.
He goes over all your numbers. He tells you if you can get qualified for a loan right now or not. If you can't, he's going to give you the advice of what you need to do to get the loan,
Yeah,
which might take time.
That's almost the most critical factors. Like, what happens if you can't get the loan for whatever reason? What do you need to do to get things in place?
We have a couple right now that went through bankruptcy and they could buy a house even though they just finished off their bankruptcy, but their credit score isn't high enough yet. If they didn't know that until they went to Mike. Then Mike is giving them advice on how to build up the credit score over time so that when they're ready to go. But if they had come to us right when they wanted to buy that second, it wasn't happening.
Nope.
So they needed time. So that's the first thing. Get qualified now so you know you're ready. And if you can be qualified, then at least you know what you're looking at. And when you're ready, the loan will be there.
And sometimes you require some massaging, some expertise. I know it very well. Yeah. But the roadmap will be laid out. You'll have an understanding of what needs to be done. Exactly. No guessing. No guesswork.
Even Jim, we've done a loan and we had to plan for it, right? Jim is self-employed. Jim files tax returns that basically determine his income. So if you're a potential buyer in 2023 and you're self-employed and you haven't filed your taxes, pause. Let's review and make sure your income on paper is going to be sufficient to qualify for whatever loan. So
I'm in the middle of that right now. I talked to Mike a couple weeks ago to say, hey, I think I'm going to be buying a house this year, and I need to know how much income. I figured out what my price point was. I was like, how much income do I need to report, and am I in the ballpark? And trying to figure all that out so that I could work with my accountant to figure it all out.
Maybe it's a good time for us. It's pretty painless to have this conversation. I mean, I can talk to somebody, Jim, for 10, 15 minutes, get most of the information I need, figure out what documents I need to request from them. I'm going to make it as small a list as possible. It's usually just about verifying income.
Yep.
And we can really see, it's like you're either a green light to go now. And so now if you wanted to, you can get in the market at this rate, or it's not a green light, but we've got these factors we need to figure out. And without going into like the nitty gritty, it's basically, do you qualify from a credit perspective, right? Credit score, credit history. What payment do you qualify for? That's the debt to income. And what type of loan are we doing? Right? Those are the three kind of broad questions we're trying to answer. And it's really in like 10, 15 minutes, I can get a very good understanding and the next day have some answers for you.
That's right.
And that brings us to the second part of the three-part process for buyers that we use that make it successful. The second part is understand your numbers backwards, forwards, sideways. So that doesn't mean just how much I could afford for a purchase price. How much is my mortgage payment? How much did the loan officer tell me I could afford for a condo or HOA fee if that's needed? How much for down payment and closing costs do I need to pull out of my pocket?
Yeah.
All of that stuff, and to know your numbers and understand that interest rates are changing so much that you have to have a very close conversation with your realtor and your mortgage person like Mike all the time so that you know what's going on. This week I went to Mike, I go, look, they went up a whole half point. We got to calculate Mike's calculator, the quick calculator we use for our customers. Is everything still good, Mike? And I think we had 4 people on there and 2 of them had to be changed.
Adjusted slightly.
2 of them had to be adjusted slightly, not in a good favor, unfortunately, right now. But if we go back down again, we'll start adjusting it into the positive way to open up more things. Now, the third part, okay, so get qualified or know that you can get qualified, know your numbers. And then the third thing, and this is crucial, especially the people that are waiting, okay, the people that are waiting right now, you got to get a live MLS feed into the area that either you're trying to buy in or sell, okay, and know what's going on in those markets. And what does that mean? We're going to go over later when we get into the market update at the top of the hour. We're going to be using a real life example of a real search, and we're going to start reading all the closed sales, the pending sales, and active sales in this type of market for this type of search. And if you're doing that active, pending, sold for a significant amount of time, you have that set up and you're being pinged live. Something happens in that search criteria. You start becoming the local expert as to what's happening. Some of my customers now are so good that they can look at what's coming on the market know based on the history before that a house like that sat on the market for 180 days and the price dropped 30%, right, over that time, right? And they could look at that house and go, oh, that house is so overpriced, I don't even want to think about it until it drops 30%. And then maybe. Yeah, then maybe. But you get that good with a live MLS feed in your inbox every day, right? And unfortunately, because the sales are so slow right now, your phone is or your inbox is going to be pinged that much. When it was a super hot market, it would be ping, 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 ping all day long. But now it's not so much like that. So you could really get an idea as to what's going on. So you got to know those three things as a buyer: get qualified, know your numbers, and plug into a live MLS. And don't say you know the market. Bless your mic. Don't say you know the market because you're on realtors, realtor.com, Zillow.com, Trulia.com. The stuff you get from the MLS is way more detailed as to how long was the house on the market, how many price drops did it have, was it on the market by two different realtors, and that right now it's showing it's 28 days on the market, but another realtor had it for 150 days. So really, it's 180 days on the market, but Zillow doesn't tell you that.
But you can see that on the MLS.
You can see all of that stuff on the MLS. You can even go back into the history of the property, all the times it was on the MLS in the past, and check out information based on that.
I'm really curious about like what's the typical process for the buyer? Like we call them like tire kickers, right? Like they're out there just kind of poking around. If they're not on an MLS drip or like ping system, what are they doing? They're looking at like Zillow and like
most of them are on Zillow, Realtor, Trulia.com for the most part. Some people are so good with Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com that they actually have a pretty good command of the market, but that's usually less than 5% of the people I walk in.
Is that like a part-time job, like being that good at it? You really have
to. They kind of just sit around all the time. If they have downtime and they have a phone, they're like on there all the time.
Yeah.
MLS would be much more accurate for them, but I have to say the people that really spend the time and effort, they could.
So it's possible.
It's possible. But why would you want to do that? Why would you want to be plugged into the matrix, right? Which, MLS, actually, there's two MLSs. There's one called Flex. The other one's called the Matrix, right? For the search engine, right? So why not get plugged into the matrix, right? And know exactly what's going on live time. And this is live. Zillow's not live.
Yeah.
Okay. So as soon as it gets changed in the status, goes from active to pending or expired or canceled, and you want to know about the expired and canceled too. You really want to know that.
So you bring the Matrix back up from the start of the show.
I did.
Yeah. So if you started with us, you're like, that's weird. This you're interested is Neo.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
I can hear the bad guy saying,
Right.
Mr.
It's
Anderson.
agent something.
Mr.
Yeah.
Anderson.
Maybe somebody can call in with that answer.
Damn.
Jim, is there?
877-927.
I'm going to eat the tire kicker metaphor to death. So there's a difference between, hey, I want to buy a car, and hey, I want to buy a SUV, and hey, I want to buy a foreign brand, right? Like you start narrowing in on what exactly you're after. So at what level should somebody like get plugged into the MLS? Like when you bathroom, neighborhood. Like,
well, if you're doing it for a sale of your house, let's say you want to sell your house 6 months from now, right? And that's the time frame you have, right? Then you set yourself up for a very specific. It depends on each neighborhood. Each neighborhood's different, right? But let's just say it's a gated community, just to make it easy, and that all the homes in there, they're ranging from 1,500 square feet to 5,000 square feet, right? So 2 2s all the way up to 6 4s.
Okay.
Right. And it's in a gated community. What you're going to want to do is what I would do if you're going to wait 6 months. I would map out that whole community and not break it down by. Let's say you have a 6-bedroom house. My phone is blowing up on the radio today, guys, and I don't know why people don't know I'm on the radio because they're all customers that are calling me right now. I'm on the radio.
You should probably tell them you do a radio.
Yes, maybe I should let them know. Hey, do you not have a radio show?
Agent Smith.
Yes,
Agent
exactly.
Smith.
So what you got to do is you map out that whole neighborhood, and what you're really trying to see is how is my neighborhood doing in today's market. If you see that the average If you see that the average person on the market is the average house in the neighborhood, the average house in the neighborhood is sitting on the market 50, 60, 70 days, and you're not getting many houses that are put on the market and they're selling at 7 to 14 days. Okay. If you know that you need to sell your house in 6 months and you really need to sell it in 6 months, you might be putting the house on the market a little earlier than you expected because you need more time to sell it because that's what's happening in your neighborhood. Right? Unless you want to go for the fire sale. I just had somebody in Royal Palm Beach that sold a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath full home, but they sold it for like $45,000 below market value.
Because they needed to sell it quick.
I was bummed out because I was worried about my comps.
Right? Yeah.
And because that's why I found out about this house. So I actually had to call the agent. I was like, can you tell me? And I had to be polite. It's like, what the hell you sell so low for? Well, he had a reason. He was a Keller Williams agent in my office, ironically. I didn't know the guy, but he's in my office. And he explained that the people were moving to a different state. They had a very clear time frame, and they did not want stress in their life. And their employer was handling a lot of the costs. So even if they sold lower, they were still going to do as good as the houses that sold higher because the employer was supplementing the move.
So it was just worth it to them.
To them, it was like, yeah, let somebody get a deal and let's move on, right? And so with the sellers, you really want to map out the neighborhood and know what's going on in your neighborhood, not your specific type of house, because that'll come as part of the thing. Now, if you're a buyer, talking about specificity. So with those, what you have to do is you want to be specific to what you want. Now, I had somebody just recently, one of our customers, Mike, who said they had to be in a certain city and that's it. And they kept trying to expand them out to other cities because they're on a very tight budget.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't do it because they kept saying, I'm not going to do that. I want to stay in this city.
Commute or,
It was a commute issue.
Yeah, school zones, things like that. Okay.
Well, now we're 30 days out before their lease ends. And now they're thinking differently. And all of a sudden they popped up and they gave me 5 other cities that they would be interested in maybe moving to.
Perfect.
And I was like, I needed this information when I started this search like 6 weeks ago. He wasn't being honest with himself. And a lot of people do this. They'll say, there's no way that there's no way I'm making up everything. Okay. But let's just say the person says, I only want to live in Delray and that's it. I don't want Boca. I don't want Lake Worth. I don't want West Delray. It's too far for the commute or whatever. And they just say, Delray's it. And in the back of their mind, they're thinking, well, parts of Wayne aren't that bad, and I guess I can handle West Boca, but they're not telling the realtor. Right. So the realtor isn't looking, and now he's putting these other cities on, and we're going to see what happens with that. So now
the dating world.
It really is kind of. I don't want to tell
I want, but essentially, I'm not young anymore. I'm not that young anymore, and my scale's a little bit off. But did you see this question we got?
No, can you read it? Because my glasses aren't on. Hold on. What does it say?
You want to let's read it and we'll talk about it after the break, maybe. So it's
this is good. Yeah.
Nick is asking about a PACE loan. So he's got a PACE loan, which is a property assessed clean energy style loan that is used for home improvements that basically make your home more green. Let's just call it like that, right?
Yes.
A big company is Wide Green. Like you'll see these also when you come out of like the BJ's and the Costco. They're like, hey, do you need a new roof, right? They're doing these style loans, and the question is, if you have that style loan, can you sell your home and the loan stays with the home? That's the question, right? So can you sell the home and the loan that you put a new roof on, does it stay with the home or does it have to be paid off when you sell it?
Assumable type loan.
That's the question.
Interesting. All right. And we will get the answer to this pressing question in about 4 minutes from now. That's how long it's going to take. We'll do a little reset here. Very important words are going to be spoken in this 4 minutes, so I hope you're paying attention. And I do want to make sure you know that Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. It is your one-stop real estate shop. We call it that for a reason. You got access to the entire team. These are pros, experts in their field. You get them all. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Of course, you can go to Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate, YouTube as well, Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. A ton of informational short videos to that. But always remember, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, and share it. There's a hotline. You can call it right now if you'd like. 888-973-7828. Of course, the contact page is all there for you. Florida talkrealestate.com. 4 minutes from now, we're back at it. Thanks for being with us every Saturday. 1 hour down, 1 hour remaining of 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate is right here. Real Radio.
What's a Real Radio podcast? It's Real Radio on demand. Find your favorite show at realradio921.com.
For more information about contests on the station, visit realradio921.com/rules.
From the Gordon and Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins with CBS 12 News. Very warm this afternoon with highs near 90 degrees and a southwest breeze between 10 to 15 miles per hour under mostly sunny skies. Clear and mild tonight with temperatures returning to the 60s by Sunday morning and not as warm for the end of the weekend with highs in the mid-80s by Sunday afternoon.
This report is sponsored by InvisibleFence.com. Over the last 50 years, Invisible Fence brand has protected over 3 million pets. Their certified training leads to a 99% success rate, and they even offer a 1-year money-back guarantee. Not only is your pet secure, so is your investment. Visit InvisibleFence.com to learn more.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title, that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
From the Anajar Levine Accident Attorney Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Yeah,
I mean, at least I can go in.
Music, radio, and podcasts. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
That's it. Toll free, 877-927-6969. We got you for the next hour. We'll pass the baton to the locker room. Greek and Joe. Jimothy, our producer extraordinaire, he'll stick around, make 4 hours of radio magic for you following. Of course, you're welcome to join us. Questions, comments, concerns, don't be shy. The world of real estate is the most important to us. It's important to you. We've got the crew handling all of your concerns and questions. And of course, if we can't handle your questions specifically on air, we'll give the answers you need off air. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is at .com, your one-stop real estate shop. I'm your boy, Johnny C. Timothy's our producer extraordinaire. Hello, my brother.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Mike Rauch is the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. He's here in the Real Radio Meat Locker with us on a Saturday morning.
Is that a call to the temperature in the room here?
Ooh,
yeah,
man.
it's a little chilly. Got to keep you on your toes, right?
I don't know if it gets any colder.
Ooh,
Well, sounds like a challenge.
it sounds like you've been in Florida for too long, my friend.
When you have to step out during the break to
Yeah.
thaw out, yes, far too long.
Well, good morning.
Good morning. I think I basically consider myself Floridian now. I moved here in 2000, like 23 years.
Yeah.
You're Floridian, right? At some point.
Well, you said your age earlier, so it's not quite half your life.
Not quite, almost
Not quite.
though.
Yeah, pretty.
7-year benchmark, wasn't it?
Is that the
Was
7
it?
year?
A while ago, they used to say that, but I don't know. That might have creeped up by now.
Well, all right, we'll double it.
Yeah.
And I'm still shot past.
There,
We'll triple it,
yeah.
and I still shot past.
True Floridians.
So you're
Johnny.
from where you're California originally?
Yeah, Bay Area guy. Well, I was
Yeah.
born in New Hampshire. I'm like Tupac. I
Yeah.
was East Coast born and West
Okay.
Coast raised.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Nice. I can see the similarities
Oh, there's a lot of similarities. Thug life.
in your flow.
Yeah, well, there's that too. And a lot of similarities between Tupac and our fearless leader over here. I call him Jimmy D. Why? Well, it's short for Jim DePola. He runs a top producing Keller Williams team. Keller Williams Innovations will find the Florida Home Pros team. Jimmy D, I ran out the music. How are you?
Hey, happy South Florida, everybody. Happy good morning. I hope everybody's having a good day.
Happy good morning.
Happy good morning.
Yes, sir.
Let's go roll right into Nick's question about the PACE loans, because you have to deal with that all the time as a customer. Sometimes I forget to ask if anybody has a PACE loan. You know what I mean? That's a really important question to ask.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, it's easy to miss that detail, especially on my end when you're pre-approving somebody. But the telltale sign is, what do the property taxes look like? Because the PACE loan and the way that these are presented is,
well, let's
okay.
go ahead and set the foundation first of what a PACE loan is, so that
Yeah.
everybody understands that. So go ahead.
Yeah, so PACE is what do you call it? I don't know if it's an acronym or
It's something to do with
PACE, so Property Assessed Clean Energy. And so this was
is that
a,
what it is?
yeah, so this was a national kind of in way to get people to make green energy changes to their home. And the trick behind it was the financing is run through the county property appraiser's office. So essentially you get the loan, and then the loan is repaid through your property tax bill, right? So if you got, whatever, and it's usually repaid over some term, right? But let's say you got $20,000 for a roof, Johnny, you're paying it through your November property tax bill every year.
They break that down over the course of your loan through 30 years?
No, so it's not even attached. It's a second loan. It's just like, imagine you got a loan to redo your roof, right?
So it's a second, but it's only paid annually through your property tax bill.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And how much is included? How much did your taxes go up? Like, how long do they stretch that term of your loan out?
So I think it depends, but let's say something like 10 years.
Okay.
15 years. I've seen different. I've seen various. Yeah. So, and the idea was you could do this and that the loan would stay attached to the home, right? Meaning you could sell your home and a new buyer will come in and they basically continue making the payments, right? So the loan transfers, it stays with the property. That was the whole idea behind it.
All right. So I have a random, unimportant sort of question, but I need to know, and it's the perfect time to ask.
Okay.
Can you adjust your escrow payment for that accordingly?
You can, most don't, and then they get a big
balloon
surprise.
Yeah.
Like most people get surprised anyway when their escrow analysis comes out and it's like, hey, your payment is adjusting, right? So I field calls on that all the time. So yeah, throw in imagine your property tax bill goes up $2,500. or $3,000.
Yeah, so
like
you need,
unexpected.
$300 more a
Right.
month in your escrow to be comfortable with
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So
So
you can't do that though. You can include that. It's part of your tax payment, so it can be included in your escrow.
yeah,
If
so
you're,
if
do it
you want
responsibly.
to, if you want to anticipate that, because that bill only comes out in November, right? And your escrows are only based on the previous November's bill. So if you wanted to anticipate that, you can call your servicer and say, hey, listen, I know my bill this coming November is going to be about X amount higher. I need to adjust my escrow, or I need to do an analysis, or you can simply set that money aside so that you're not stuck with a big shortage when that bill comes due. Right. So you have it set up.
So the way it was supposed to be was that if you got that loan and you included it in your taxes, the loan, when you went to sell the house, that would just be transferred over to the buyer. That's the way it was supposed to work.
So the loan would stay with the home, which like it sounds really appealing and kind of makes sense. Like, hey, I'm going to put on a new roof. That roof's going to last 30 years. I'm gonna pay for the first 5 years, but then the new owner is going to continue paying for it. They get the new roof, they get the benefits of it, right? They're going to continue paying for it for the remaining life of the loan. So that was how it was kind of conceptualized, and that's how it was oftentimes presented to homeowners. Like, hey, you're going to get this loan, and it's going to stay with the house. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Cool. I'm going to pay for it while I live there, and someone else pay for it after. But then Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA stepped in and said, no, we don't like that. And this goes to the root of the question, which is, can you sell your home and will the loan live, right? Or does it need to be paid off? The answer is it needs to be paid off if you're doing any type of traditional financing. I would say any kind of financing, right? The reason for that is there is potential for that loan to supersede the new mortgage. As far as like, if something goes wrong and there's a foreclosure proceeding, who has priority? Who's got first lien position? And so Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, they all want to be in first lien position so that if there's a problem and you don't repay the loan, they're going to come in and foreclose. They're going to be first to act, right? They're going to be first to get paid. They're going to be like, they basically had the priority on that type of process. And so there was questions about who's got the first lien position. And so essentially they came out and said, no, we're not going to let any PACE lien survive a transfer of ownership.
It feels that's the way it should be.
I see it both ways. I definitely like that. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Like, hey, you get to transfer the burden of this big expense onto the owner or whoever the new owner is. But I also see the first lien position, and ultimately, like if you're doing a cash sale, Jim, then that's something that you could approach. You should certainly, as a seller, don't try to slip it under the rug, right? You need to notify any potential buyers like, hey, there is this lien attached to the home. We don't want to take care of it. We want to pass that on. But if the buyer is doing any type of traditional financing, conforming or non-conforming, that PACE lien is going to have to be paid off.
We had that happen. One of our customers 2 years ago, I guess 18 months ago, they called up, fan of the show. We had done a deal with them in the past. I think they wanted to do a refi, Mike.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do a cash out refi. And then they found out they had to pay off the PACE loan. And I got them over to Mike, and they weren't, I mean, not that they were upset with Mike, but they weren't real happy about the news, because what they were told at the time they thought was that would just continue on with the property taxes and that he wouldn't have to deal with it. And then that screwed up his cash out refi, and he couldn't do it.
It really comes up for people who are refinancing. Like they did this PACE lien and then they wanted to take advantage of interest rates. And all of a sudden they didn't have the same equity position that they thought they had because there was this PACE lien that kind of needed to be satisfied as well.
Well,
so
it probably really messes up any cash out options for a lot
certainly
of folks.
cash out, right? You just don't have the same equity position you thought.
Yeah.
I had one, Jim, where, and I eventually got them connected with Paul Krasker's office. They actually did a sale with a conventional loan, and nobody caught that there was a PACE lien. And she called me to do a refi, and I said, wait a second. And I looked at the property tax and said, something's not right here. Your property tax bill went up, like way up. What happened? And I saw the PACE lien, and I said, well, you didn't do this lien. It was the previous owners. How did that happen? And this was kind of like a fix and flip situation. So there was just some sort of timing mishap, and the title company that closed it missed it, and they didn't pay off the PACE lien, and it survived that transfer. So eventually got him connected to Paul. Of course, Paul has deep roots in title, right? He knows what the heck's going on with title. He's like, yeah, they screwed up. Guess what? That's why you got a title policy. Title policy took care of that situation.
Yeah,
Good.
which is pretty cool,
Right.
right?
A lot of people say, "Why do I need this title insurance policy?" Well,
There
guess
it
what?
is. Yeah.
Guess what? This is one of those situations where it actually came in handy. And that client was very happy, not happy that it happened, but happy that she got it resolved in her favor. So,
Right.
um,
So Nick, if you want to, there's a couple things you need to do. It sounds like you're thinking you might be selling or refining. If you want to know the value of your home, just give us a call. I'll give you a free valuation. It's that easy. You just say, "Hey Jim, I want you to tell me how much my property is worth. What can you sell it for?" That'll give you an idea of what value it is for a refi or a sale, and we'd love to help you with that. So Nick, hope
Right.
you found that information useful, even though I don't think he's probably happy with the answer.
he might. I mean, listen, you have to know this stuff. But I think the follow up to his question was, "What's a new roof worth to somebody?" Right? What do you pay for it, and what's the kind of return on investment on that? And so, I don't know, Jim. Like, if you're going to sell your home, let's say I'm going to sell
It doesn't
within
work.
a
It
year.
doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. I mean, people ask that question all the time. And we just talked about this. I think it was 2 weeks ago, right? When we talked about repairs in your house, and that if you put in a $35,000 kitchen in your house, it doesn't necessarily mean your house is now worth 35,000 more.
Yeah.
You had a kitchen there before that, assuming it was functioning.
Right.
It might have been old and dated and looked like that 70s show, but it was still a functioning kitchen. So there's value there of just having a functioning kitchen. So putting in the $35,000 upgrade doesn't mean you get the full 35,000. The same thing with the roof. Now, there are many ways that you could advertise and market your property with the newer roof that's going to make your house more desirable
Yeah.
than other people around you. So it might help you sell faster. You might get more money for it. But if, let's say, you put a $22,000 roof on your house, okay, you're probably not going to get $22,000 of value extra for having the new roof.
Yeah, if you had two exact homes, one had a brand new roof and one didn't, you're not going to get 22,000 more on the home with the new roof. Not just because of the roof, at least.
Right, not just because of the roof. So let's say, because what would happen if you have the brand new roof, two identical homes in the same neighborhood, one has a brand new roof, one doesn't, but let's say it's a 2019 roof.
I mean,
that's pretty new, right?
Right.
But let's say it's a 2005 roof.
Right, but the 05 roof's all Mac Daddy on the inside, all updated, right?
No,
Maybe.
identical
Yeah.
homes. Identical.
Identical.
Yeah,
Oh, I
let's
don't
just
like
say
this.
so what so the point is that it doesn't happen like that. I wish it was that simple or it's just a mathematical formula.
Right.
But it isn't really like that. You got to know what's going on in your neighborhood, what your competition is out in the world out there, and everything else.
I mean, really good question for AJ, who was on last week, the appraiser. I've had appraisers tell me, Mike, it doesn't matter. You got to have a roof on a house. So I'm not giving an adjustment for brand new metal roof versus the shingle roof. I've seen that. Like they won't give an adjustment for it. And it's like the owner, the owners don't get it. They're like, what are you talking about? This is a value. I just paid $40,000 to put this roof on. How could it be worth nothing? And the answer is, well, both homes have roofs, right?
Yeah. So you have to be very careful and understand what's going on. And when you make logical decisions, logic isn't always the way it works in the real world.
Sometimes it is,
and sometimes, yeah. But and you really need to talk it out with somebody who kind of knows and not make the assumption, right? So that's really important. So Nick, I hope you found that information useful. Thank you for calling in. Reaching out to the show. I think he came in through Facebook. So thank you.
He's
Nick,
asked one more follow up.
I didn't see that.
Now the question is, does the new roof save on insurance?
Yes.
New roof versus an old roof on insurance.
Well, I hate to tell him this. We just talked about this last week. Poor Nick. Okay, Nick. So here's the deal. Almost everybody right now is getting citizens insurance. So as long as you have 3 years useful life on your roof,
it's going to be the same.
It's going to be the same as if you put the brand new roof on. And Ross just told us that last week, Ross Camaronets, because we had a case where somebody said that they felt like their insurance rate was high because the roof that we had 6 years useful life, but it had been patched 3 times and it was older. But it still had 6 years useful life, so it had an insurance policy. So the buyer was assuming that if somebody put a new roof on, that the insurance policy would drop. And Ross said, no, it won't drop.
Right. But what it may do is open up insurance options for you.
Right.
So more than
Right.
Citizens. So the new roof should give you more insurance carriers who would insure your home. I don't know if that's going to equal savings, but at least you'll have more options.
At least you have more, like, let's say you have AAA or State Farm and you've been with them forever and they'll only do a house because you're a longtime customer, and you have the new roof, the brand new roof, maybe State Farm will keep you.
Oof.
Okay. I'm just making up numbers here. I mean, names, but almost everybody's getting Citizens right now. So you could have a 2005 roof that has 3 years useful life, and you're going to get basically the same policy somebody puts on a new roof. Now, there's a couple of things in there. There's that special sticky stuff they put on instead of the felt tin tabs now. And I forget, it's a second barrier moisture thing that Ross talked about. And if you put that on when you're putting on the new roof, they count it as a credit. And the other thing is maybe you're restrapping your roof, right?
Yes.
So that would add value.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
there are things that could add value putting on the new roof, but just the fact you're putting on a new roof doesn't necessarily give you any value.
Right.
Florida sucks right now. Florida insurance sucks right now, Nick. I hope you found that information useful, and you can give us the finger because we're on the radio and we understand.
Totally get it. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
Okay. Let's just talk about the economy. I don't want to go into too much onto this, Johnny, because we did go over this a lot last week, but it was funny. I was reading a Wall Street Journal article last week, and they said, what's happening in the national economy? And they described it in one word, and it's weirdness.
Yes.
Right. And I was like, this is a good way to describe our economy. I've been calling it choppy waters.
Couldn't agree with you more.
I know, right? It's so crazy right now. So what we went over last week is that, of course, inflation is spiking again. It isn't going down. We've been seeing it going down over the last 6 months or something, but it's not going down at the rate it was going down before. And it actually might be picking up a little bit.
Yep.
So that's a little scary. Then the other thing that happened is consumer spending is still too damn strong.
It's almost getting stronger, which is
I know
why our inflation numbers are going the wrong way.
I'm wondering if it's like a sugar rush and everybody's just spending everything they got, and then they're just gonna collapse on the couch. It's like, I spent too much. Now it's gonna happen.
Right.
Almost like what happened during the last crash. That's what everybody did. Everybody just went nuts.
Now you're talking crazy.
Right. I know. Right. So we talked about how consumer spending is still way too strong. So what does that mean? The feds are going to keep jacking up the rates until we get it going. We had in the employment section, we're still down to 3.4%. We had 500,000 people hired the month before. This is January's reports. This couple weeks old now, but 500,000 or hired that month. They thought it was going to be like 230,000. It was like double what they thought. And we had 100,000 people fired, most of it coming from the tech industry where there's a lot of layoffs there. And then this is what I wanted to get to you, Johnny. This is the part I wanted you to be on for, was the car defaults. Okay. So you sent me an order. I think you're the one that sent me the article about car defaults. And I read a CNBC report that was pretty detailed about this whole thing. And I was a little surprised about what the headlines was showing and what the stats were. So the car default said in the headline that there was double amount of car defaults, meaning that they were 60 days later on their car payments, that it had doubled in the last quarter. I think it was the last quarter of 2002. And I was like, wow, that might be a canary in the coal mine. Maybe, because what I was saying was that when people can't make their payments on things, what is the last two things they're going to stop making their payments on? The number two thing is car, and number one thing is the house, right? So those are the last two payments that they're not going to make because everything else isn't as important as the house or the car.
Sure.
Right.
Where does your cell phone bill fall into that?
That probably is up there. I would assume it's probably up there. Right.
Yeah. Mint Mobile, $15.
Yeah. There you go. Yep. So,
buy a commercial, Ryan Reynolds.
So
Bingo.
the thing is that what were you thinking of that when you were seeing that? Are you thinking, uh-oh, here it comes? Or what were you thinking of that report?
So you remember a few months back, I asked Mike, there was an interesting number where they were talking about the monthly car obligation like closing down $1,000.
$1,000
And
a
I was like,
month.
how many people that you're seeing run loans are carrying $700 to $1,000 car payments? I'm running into more and more people like that don't make huge money.
Sure.
I'm like, how much? They're like, oh yeah, it's $680 for my car. I was like, and then they're like, oh, and with insurance, I'm at $900. I was like, it just blows my mind the level of spending that people are willing to put into a vehicle. So I'm not surprised because I think the number, I always think like $300, $400, maybe $500 on your note, right? For a monthly, maybe, unless you're super baller, deep pockets, and you're not a concern.
Right.
The average person now that goes and gets a truck or an SUV, they're like $700 a month.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not sustainable
because
at all.
the vehicles are, $50,000.
And you gotta have it.
50,000.
I know you gotta have it, and I know you work hard and you deserve nice things. I get that. Most people just aren't willing to go into that. Like my 2012 Kia Soul that just I got duct tape and super glue. Well, I'm gonna ride it till the wheels fall off because I ain't trying to pick up another $500-$700 a month payment. I'm just not. I'm not gonna do it.
Totally
Decisions in life, right? So I'm not surprised, but it just sometimes it's just self-fulfilling. We just see it happening. So we talk about the just spending in general. So when you talk about the mortgage world, there's a number that scares people off. You highlighted it. In August, we started to go from about 5% on the mortgage rate. It started ticking up, and it scared away a big boost, a big chunk of buyers. You hit 7, it like really spooks folks, right? What is the percentage we're going to need on APR for credit cards or a car loan where people go, I'm not doing it anymore? It's good. I'm telling you, it's like a 5 in the first number. Because at 23, 27, 29, it doesn't scare people. They're like, charge it.
Well,
do it.
Credit is a different animal because people get you slowly get in deep on credit, right? Like when you get that credit card, Johnny, you don't care what the APR is. You're like, oh, I'm just going to pay it off, right? I'm never going to carry interest.
What's the number where you care though?
Well, I don't think there is one on a credit card.
No.
For
those that pay it off every month, I'm with you. But we're not talking about the vast majority of Americans.
If I told you, hey, Johnny, I'm going to do a balance transfer. I'm going to transfer all your balances. It's going to be 25%. You're going to be like, no, well, why would I ever do that?
Right.
But if I just say, hey, Johnny, here's a $2,000 credit card. Yeah, it's 25%, but don't worry about that. You're just going to use it to buy, fill up your gas, and then you're going to pay it off. The problem is you will slowly as things tighten up, right? You're going to slowly start using on that card. And then you end up with, debt that you can't, you're keeping your head up at night.
Yeah, I don't know where
you can't sleep.
We found the magic numbers in certain sectors, specifically the mortgage sector. I don't know where the magic numbers are.
I don't know that we found a number either.
What they said in that CNBC report, which I thought was really interesting because it brought us back to those $1,000 a month car payments, right? Is CNBC said that the people that are missing the payments right now got their cars during COVID. So they were paying really low interest rates, but they were paying higher prices for the cars because we were having used cars were so
in demand.
Yeah, in demand. We had lack of inventory for cars. So everything was more expensive, but the interest rates kind of offset everything. I think that's how people got into trouble on that. And it was very easy to get the loan. And they said those are the people that are mostly missing the payments right now. It wasn't like the
But those auto loans are locked in,
2019
aren't they?
cars.
Yeah, they're locked in, but auto loans are kind of funky for me because it's much different than a mortgage, because whether you have a 2% auto loan or a 7% auto loan, when it's paid off over 5 or 6 years or even 4 years, whatever, the amount that you pay in interest is really not a huge
marginal
number, right? It's not a huge difference. Now, of course, in a mortgage, that makes all the difference in the world, which is why people talk about, well, you kind of get the loan now, you get into a payment that's affordable, and then if the market allows, you refinance in the future. You can do that thing. You're never going to do that, or usually you're not going to do that on a car.
What is it? Date the rate?
Yeah. Date, marry the home, date the rate.
Marry the home, date the rate.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
exactly.
marry the home, date the rate.
But
so with the car payments, this is what I saw after they said that the amount of people behind are double. We went from this is off my memory, but 0.48% of the people are behind on their payments, 60 days or late, to like 0.86%. 0.86%. So that doubled basically, or close
What
to
is that?
double.
86 out of 1,000 people? Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So what I'm
That's
saying
kinda
is
scary.
it's kind of like well, to me, it's kind of like the foreclosure thing. Right now we're under 1% foreclosure rate. Normal market's 1 to 3%.
Well, they
So
were talking 60-day late, so the trigger's 90, right?
Right.
So it's inching up is what it's
It could
highlighting.
be.
That's what they're really highlighting is it's inching up.
It-
And once they hit the cliff, all the
Right,
lemons spill
right,
off.
but like you're mentioning is where is the cliff, and we don't know yet, because one of the things about that is like remember we talked about credit card debt. It started to get people during COVID. We had the most money in the bank and the least credit card debt in a long time, right? Like 40 years.
Yeah.
And then everybody's starting to really put things on their credit card again, and we're starting to see people use their credit card a lot. And we've been saying for a couple of years as that's been happening, the shoe's going to drop. Well, it hasn't yet. And I think it's all related to employment.
Well, I'll tell you,
Our
this
employment is so strong right now.
the thing for me, this is you talk about canary in the coal mines. When Mike starts saying, man, I'm getting a lot of cash out refis, and we're at like 7.5%.
Yeah.
That's when I'm gonna start going, oh no. Like, oh no, people are tapping into whatever equity they can to get whatever cash they can get their hands on, and willing to almost double their rate and start at a new 30 and say, screw it. That at that point, that's where you're like, for me, I'll
Yeah,
be
that
like,
would be a big signal.
I think, I don't know if the rate we're at that we're far from that. Like within the next year, I think he's going to start to see him take up.
And one thing is, it's true that I'm not telling people to touch it, but we have more equity in homes than in a very long time.
I think it'll be twofold.
Mhm.
They got to get out from under debt that they've racked
Mhm.
up because they're just spending freely, and the fear that I may lose this equity. I'd rather get it at a cost,
Pay off my debt,
to have it and decide what I'm going to do with it,
Right.
than lose
Than
it
to lose it at all.
completely.
Yeah.
And that's a weird mentality,
Mhm.
especially when you're dealing with a mortgage rate that maybe goes from 3.5 or 4%, 4.5, 5 to maybe 7 or 7.5. Like that's and you're resetting your note at 30 years. Like that's an interesting dilemma in your mind.
Mhm.
Probably scenario where Mike's going to be like, this doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But
I hope I don't have to have that conversation a lot, because me, my gut is going to be like, no, do not
Do
this.
not do
Do
this.
not do this.
Hey, I don't mean to be rude. Let's go ahead and take a break, though. Let's take a break at 10:30 because we screwed up our breaks this time. On the flip side, we're going to talk about a real life example in the market. Talking about this is the market good or bad? I'm going to let you guys decide. I'm just going to read some stats. I thought it was kind of interesting when I was going through it last night. And then we're going to talk about how life's a beach in Florida.
oh, it
Okay.
is. It really is. And hopefully you're enjoying some beach. And if not, maybe you got some in your plans in the not so distant future, at least. They're all around us. Beautiful places to enjoy in South Florida. And if you're thinking this is going to be my forever home, maybe you want to buy a home or sell a home. You're stuck with a home. You don't know what to do. I got good news. Florida Talk Real Estate is .com. Your one-stop real estate shop. You got pros. These are experts in their field, and you have access to them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Know it, use it, love it, share it. FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Back in 4 minutes. Florida Talk Real Estate right here. It's Real Radio.
Got something to say? I got something to say. Text us at 47142. Start your message with Real Radio. Standard data and message rates apply, and don't text while driving.
From the Gordon and Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins with CBS 12 News. Very warm this afternoon with highs near 90 degrees and a southwest breeze between 10 to 15 miles per hour under mostly sunny skies. Clear and mild tonight with temperatures returning to the 60s by Sunday morning and not as warm for the end of the weekend with highs in the mid-80s by Sunday afternoon.
This report is sponsored by NTT IndyCar Series. Experience the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg this Sunday, March 5th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time live on NBC and Peacock. Watch the fastest cars and the boldest drivers fight to the finish line. The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg this Sunday at noon Eastern live on NBC and Peacock.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Camaronets, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Still got plenty of time, 877-927-6969. If you'd like to be a part of the show, go ahead and dial it up. Jimothy, our producer extraordinaire, he'll answer it. Make the call, we'll take that call. Speaking of Jimothy, how are you, my friend?
I am well, Johnny. I hope you are. Mike, Jim, you out there, I hope you are all doing well.
Yeah, nice Saturday morning. Great to have you with us every Saturday. Johnny C., that's me. Mike Rauch is the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. Hello, Michael.
Good morning, sir.
Nice to see you. Jimmy D's here, too. Jim DePola, I always tell you, he runs the top-producing Keller Williams team, the Florida Home Pros team. It can be found with Keller Williams Innovations. And there's Jimmy D. Jim DePola, how are you, B?
Happy South Florida, everybody. I'm just pulling up the MLS, the Matrix. And I wanted to go over some stats. I thought that would be kind of interesting for people. We were talking at the top of the show about what you should do in today's market with the rising interest rates, if you're a seller or a buyer. And I was talking to a seller yesterday, a person that was thinking of selling and said he didn't want to sell because the market was so bad. And I said, what makes you think that? And he didn't know what to say.
It's all the stuff we just talked
because,
about.
Yeah, because people, and I'm not making fun of the person. It's just that people have these opinions, but they're not really based on facts or anything like that. And I'm not saying that we're not in a shifting market. I'm not saying that the market's getting better and better every day.
Real estate market is constantly changing, isn't it?
It is. It's a fluctuating, it's an algorithm.
What's the old saying? Shift happens?
Yes.
Yeah,
It
exactly. Right. And, if you talk to my broker, Dan DeMont, over at my office, he says, as far as he's concerned, the shift's already happened. We're already in a new market. We're not in a shifting market. He feels like we've shifted. I'm not sure I agree 100% on that, but he was more right about price appreciation last year than I was. So I have to give him credit for that. Okay, so I wanted to show you just a couple of, I thought this would be kind of interesting. So I was looking for 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes with a pool anywhere in Palm Beach County, okay, that didn't have membership equity. That was my search. I've been doing this search because I have a bunch of people looking for this kind of stuff. So I'm looking all the time.
Wait, say it again.
Okay, 3-bedroom, 2-bath or larger pool homes
Palm Beach County.
in Palm Beach County. Could be in an HOA, could not be in an HOA, could be 55 and over, could not be 55 and over, but no membership equity. That's the only
so not
criteria.
Like no golf course, country club membership.
Right. No golf course, country club membership, everything else, bring it on. Right. So
3-2 with the pool.
3-2 minimum, 3-2 with the pool
And a roof.
I get these things.
and a roof.
I get these things.
And the roof's extra.
Yeah.
So
all of them have the roof. So far.
So
Johnny, don't you have a 3-2 with the pool?
I do. Yeah, the roof is questionable.
what the heck's going on here?
Yeah, but I get these. I get pings on these. This is my kind of in my criteria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're active right now. You're on a
on
a search.
Yeah,
Did you see that property I showed you twice now? I sent it to you like over once, and then a couple weeks later I sent it again.
Yes.
That one looked like, I know you're not ready yet, but that one looked like it might have been
like the only one that'll be like, ooh.
Yeah, and it was under 600,000, and I
Was.
thought that was that's what I made it. I thought it was nice for that reason.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
yeah, but I thought that was a good deal. By the way, anybody out there, I've been looking for Airbnbs for some people. I found something that is really, really nice, but now I can't find any buyers for this Airbnb. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So it's in downtown Lake Worth. It's 2 blocks off of Lake and Lucerne. It's in downtown Lake Worth. It's a little tiny 2-1.
You really know how to sell it.
Well, it's a little tiny 2-1. It's right off of downtown Lake Worth, which is awesome. Like you could just go and party all the time.
Desirable,
right?
Yeah.
They put in a pool like 3 years ago. Now it's only like a 700 square foot 2-1. It's nicely fixed up. It would be perfect for Airbnb, but $375,000, right? Then it has 2 other single family homes right adjacent to it that are owned by the same owner. And you could pick up all 3 under $1 million if you gave them full asking price. You could get all 3 under $1 million, and then that one pool could be used for all 3 properties the way it's situated.
Oh,
and it could be like this little Airbnb compound of 3. It would be a 1-1, a 3-1, and a 2-1 with a pool, 2 blocks off of Lake and Lucerne, in a really good area. So anybody looking for Airbnbs, that would be an awesome Airbnb, especially if you did the trifecta and got all 3 properties. So give me a call if you're interested.
Would the
I don't think it's going to be around long, guys. So
would
if you
the
don't call
owner
soon,
consider some sort of owner financing arrangement?
I don't know yet because I haven't got a buyer that I could find that's ready to pull the trigger right now. So I haven't even started negotiating.
Sounds
yet.
awesome. My luck, I ended up with somebody like Jimmy, who's one of my tenants, and every time I go to the pool, he's laying out there naked.
Yeah,
Sunbathing.
all over the place. Keg floating in the pool.
Can't get to the pool.
I don't think it's going to
naked
be.
Jimmy out there.
I think yesterday was day 3. I don't think it's going to be around much longer. So anybody interested, if you're thinking, hey, I want that, or I'm looking for stuff like that, please give us a call, 888-973-7828 or floridatalkrealestate.com. And I've got those running searches. So anytime that there's something out there, I'll give you a call.
Nice.
So let me show you a couple. So the 3-bedroom, 2-bath or larger pool homes. Okay. So what I did is I pulled up the most recent sales for that just to figure out what's going on with it. So the most recent sale was March 2nd. Okay. So March 2nd, this property closed. It was in Jupiter. Okay. So they were asking $475,990. It was on the market 28 days and it closed at $431. Now that's a significant price drop because you're talking, let's see, 40 grand. So almost a 10%. It was like an 8% price drop, right? Which is a little bit below the county average right now, which is a 7% price drop, right? We're at 98% though. So, okay. So the next house, It was on the market for 525 and it closed at 500, 5% drop. 485 closed at 480, so very insignificant. 565 closed at 570. Now this is interesting. This one 565 closed at 570. How many days on the market do you think it took to sell this house since it sold above list in today's market? By the way, this closed last month, so we're talking about very recent sales.
How long did it take?
Yeah,
They
if it
sold it for
closed at-
above list price. It must have been a very desirable neighborhood. I don't know, 20 days on the market,
Oh,
15 days.
That was you were so close. Oh no, you weren't close. Okay, what do you think, John?
I wasn't even
I
close.
thought you were close, but you weren't. Sorry.
60 days.
That was closer, 55 days. But they still got above list price, 55 days. There's a little tiny lesson there for people thinking the market, my house isn't selling, so therefore it must be a price issue. Not necessarily. Okay. Then we have a 579. It closed at 575. 549 closed at 549. 449 closed at 450. And that brings us through February. Okay. I'm not going to go to January, but January is kind of similar. So you have one house that really sold kind of like out of the parameters of everything else. And all the other ones, it was within a couple of points of where the list price was.
Right.
And the days on market for all those houses I listed were a low of 5 days on market to as high as 105 days on market. Okay. So I found that to be very interesting. So where's this horrible market? Are you seeing like these huge price drops on all these homes? And these are desirable 3-bedroom, 2-bath pool homes, right? We're not talking about, lots of people want these homes.
And we're all going for like close to $500,000.
Yeah. And there's still, right. We have only one of these that I mentioned. Yes. No, 2 of them I mentioned out of the 9. 3 I mentioned out of the 9 were in the 400s, but 6 of them were in the 500s, right? And I just find this to be very interesting. So the market isn't as bad as the sellers think it is. I have this guy that is going to be selling here and then moving to a different area. And he said that the agent in the different area, he's getting freaked out because he doesn't want to sell until June. And I keep telling him to meet with me now so we can come up with the plan and maybe get the house on the market a little earlier than he thinks. But he keeps wanting to say he wants everything out of the house first, which I understood when he explained why. But that could impact what's going to happen in the sale of his house because we don't know what's going to happen in a couple of months.
Right.
So he's looking up in the Northwest Florida for a new home with a different agent. And that agent's like, prices are dropping like crazy down here. My first thing is it probably isn't, and that the agent isn't really that seasoned. I might be wrong. Okay. But nothing in Florida is dropping like crazy right now. Like crazy drops. We're having fluctuations, but nothing's like sinking like a rock. And so that tells me either the agent never been in a slowing market before and they just don't know what to expect. So they think the worst is happening. And there's a lot of agents out there like that. You don't know how many agents are walking around with their head down because they think the market's just really, really junky. And it's because they're very, what do you call it when you're used to something being good for so long time and then it gets taken away from you? There's a term for that, but they're kind of used to like a really, really good market, like a crazy, the last market we just went through was the best market in the history of the United States for real estate, basically.
Wild.
Yeah. And so if you're in that market and that's how you started your career, you don't know any other market that you compare it to is going to be worse because you're at the best of the best ever.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So anything less, they're like, oh my God, it's terrible. It's like, no, it's not terrible. It's just not the best of the best ever.
Spoiled brat, maybe.
Yeah, it's spoiled brat. Yeah, thanks. Spoiled. That's what I was looking for.
Or
Spoiled.
conditioned, maybe?
No,
or-
spoiled.
You're looking for spoiled?
I'm looking for spoiled because there were so many agents that were lazy. They didn't do the same thing over and over again, whether it was good market or bad market. Why am I still getting 98% of list price to sold price? Because we have a system that we've been using since 2012. And every time the market changed, we learned something different and then tweaked our system to make it stronger and stronger. Right. So we do the same advertising. We do the same open house. Our 21-day plan, I set that 21-day plan in 2015. and it's still our 21-day plan. And the last 4 houses we sold, all sold in 21 days except for one, and that took 40, but that was in a 90-day neighborhood.
Did you have that one on the 40-day plan?
No, but I told them ahead of time that they were a 70 to 90-day neighborhood. I
Okay.
told them straight up.
Yeah.
And I still did it in 40, right? So, this market isn't this. I got a closing on Tuesday with Bailey and her husband, which is awesome, and her family. They came to me. They wanted, I guess I could tell the numbers now. They wanted, they were hoping like 425. I told them no way. Their house was really nice, but in their neighborhood, it might have been a little bit of an over improvement if you based it on what they did for the neighborhood, for their home. So we ended up we put it on the market at 400. I think it was 7 days. We got 400. Then during the inspection period, they knocked $4,000 off. So we got 396, which is 1%. We got 99% of list because of the roof. We gave them a credit for the roof, but then they said they couldn't get insurance. And that's where we had talked about this in the past, where
you knew they could get insurance.
We knew they could get insurance, but the guy was an investor that was buying it, but he was buying it for his daughter. The agent was awesome, Tammy. She was a really good agent to work with, but I just didn't feel. I felt like they were just squeezing us to see what would happen if they ask, because you can't get if you don't ask, right?
Sure.
So then we went and did some counteracting to that and found out we were right. And then they were very cooperative with us, and they worked really hard to get a good insurance policy, and everybody was good. So then they came back at the end and they said they wanted the whole credit for the roof. And then my sellers held tight and they said, you know what? If we're going to put the new roof on, we're putting it back on the market and we're raising the price. And I told them I think I could get that, right? I could get the roof money back. They would have made the same amount of money, but I could have got the roof money back. So then they would have still been at the 396 or whatever, right?
So they were comfortable starting over, knowing that
If
they
they
would be in
had
the
to.
same place if they had to. I
Yep.
like that. Yeah.
And then, and that made sense because the house was Mac Daddy on the inside. They did a beautiful job on the inside, and the inspection came back squeaky clean, except for the roof. So the investor caved in and bought the house as is at the terms we agreed at 396. So we got 99% of list. And the reason why he did that, and he was smart. Why would you? If I had a choice between a house that was completely fixed up on the inside and I had to replace a roof, or I had a brand new roof, but I had to do a gut job on the inside because every square inch of the inside was touched in some way. In order to do that, I'd put the roof on every single time.
Oh,
because
yeah.
that way you don't have to deal with all the stuff that you have to deal with, the plumbing and the electric and the drywall and the paint and everything else you got to do. So anyway, that this market isn't as bad as you think it is for sellers. So if sellers are waiting because they think they want to see what's going to happen in the market, it's probably not going to get much better than it is right now, but the potential for it to get much worse is there. So you're really playing with fire if you're waiting to see what's going to happen. So you really should have a plan. I keep telling everybody, have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, you have a plan to fail.
Yeah, Scarecrow. You got to
Yeah.
go to FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. That's your one-stop real estate shop, FloridaTalkRealEstate.com.
So we've been talking about a lot of stressful stuff. So I thought it would be nice if we talked about Florida and life as a beach, right? Just to get a little break in here, right? So the travel advisor comes out with an annual report picking the top 10 beaches in the world.
In the world?
I think it's the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Let me go back. Hold on. Let me see. Florida's.
World's a big place.
It is a big place.
Yeah.
It's a lot of water frontage.
Does
also
anybody
in
know
the
how
world.
how many miles we are across for the Earth?
You mean diameter?
Is that across? Circumference is all the way around, right? So diameter is across.
Yeah. So
Yeah, diameter.
You want through the center of the Earth,
Okay.
or circumference?
The width, which is also the height because it's a circle, but the
So
width.
you can go right through me. It's going to be
Yeah,
way
go
shorter
right
than
through.
going around me. Which
Yeah,
one do you
so
want?
the around is circumference,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so diameter. What's the diameter?
I don't know the answer.
I don't either.
26,000 miles. That's how far it is across.
26,000.
That
Mhm.
sounds like circumference.
That might be circumference. I think you're right. I think it's So I don't know either. I'm asking questions I don't even know the answer to. It is circumference.
Isn't
now
that,
that I'm
isn't
thinking
that
about
only
it.
like
Johnny, how long
that's like
is a
10
piece of
miles,
string?
isn't it?
It's circumference.
Circumference of the Earth,
Oh, it's
about
miles.
25,000 miles.
Yeah, I said
25 miles. I went feet. Sorry.
Yeah.
Now the diameter is saying it's about from north to
8?
south pole is about 7,900.
Yeah, 8.
So almost
Okay, I was
8,000.
39,000.
Yeah,
I got it.
it's very hard to travel that way though.
Yeah.
How
Through
did
the
I
center,
know
yeah,
8
true.
and 26 and then get them screwed up anyway? Right. I was pretty close on both.
It's
of them.
probably a sign of old age or something like that, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Your brain's
yeah,
going
maybe
soft?
it is maybe it is old age thing. Let's see. So I'm trying to see if it's the country or the world. Let me look at the list. Hold on here. Of course, it's very slow to load up.
So we're talking about the top 10 beaches
country, not world,
in the United States.
Top 10 beaches in the United States. Florida's always in there somewhere, usually a couple. So
got great
we
beaches.
have 2 that made it.
All right.
And we had 1 that got kicked out.
Okay.
Ooh.
So, and the one that got kicked out was Fort Lauderdale. So Fort Lauderdale Beach, gone, no longer in the top 10 anymore.
Wow.
Doesn't say why.
Kids.
It doesn't say why. Okay.
Oh, we know why. What's number 1?
Number 1 is Kaanapali Beach in Maui.
Okay. I figured it had to be in the Hawaiian Islands.
Number
I wouldn't have
2,
gone Maui though.
Number 2 is Florida, Siesta Beach and Siesta Key.
Okay. Love it.
Number 3, Driftwood Beach in Jekyll Island, Georgia. Number 4, another, I can't pronounce these names. I'm sorry, guys. Another Hawaiian beach.
So let me just ask
number
you,
5,
are we
another
talking about
Hawaiian
like quality
beach.
of sand? Like what
Oh,
what
good.
separates?
Yeah. Okay. So
Like I love when there's like real just powdery sand.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like flour.
Yep.
Oh, it's so
that
nice.
blue water you can see right through.
That's a big
down
one
to
for
the
me.
bottom.
Like
I
just
love
the,
that.
the crystal clear water.
Yes.
I like wave action too. So I'm not like a big Gulf side.
But do you want that real coarse sand? Or do you like a more
You know
like
what?
a
I don't
softer,
mind.
siftier?
I like the sugar sand.
Yeah.
I like that too.
And-
although it gets everywhere. The what I don't like is the shelly, sharp shell sand.
Yeah,
that you get
sensitive. Really
sometimes.
sensitive toes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I walk around with shoes on. I don't go barefoot. You know,
I like
so.
the
My-
clothing optional sand.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
there
Very
you go.
nice, very
Sand
nice.
in your what?
I like down here, my favorite is St. Augustine because I like the dunes. You know, they have more dunes out there. And also you can drive on the beach out there. Parts of it you're allowed to drive on it, even though I know it is an environmentally good thing. And my worst beach I dislike the most, I gotta be honest with you, is a lot of the places in the Keys.
Well, because they don't really have any natural beaches in the Keys.
I know, it's
especially
all-
Key West. It's all
Yeah, it's all
either
coral.
man-made or man-made beach or it's coral. I was
And it's
surprised by
coral
that
standard.
first time I went.
And
down.
also all the fecal matter that's in the water around the Keys. And it's
that's-
like I don't like
what?
swimming in poop.
Why would that be? Oh, just because that's where it's
Oh my God!
injected?
They shut down the beaches down there.
Oh, okay.
The beaches are shut down there more, I think, than any other beaches in Florida. For
My favorite
for that
beach
problem.
is the closest beach. Right, where I can drive.
Yeah.
When I can drive 10 minutes to the
Yeah.
beach, that's the one I want to go to.
well, one of your favorite things to do, I think, back in the day, was you and the family would go to Palm Beach, right?
Yeah,
You guys always used to
Closest
go to
one.
Palm Beach,
Sure.
where they always used to go.
They let
'Cause
you
you-
over the bridge?
Listen, because I grew up where you had to drive 4 hours to get to the beach, so
Right.
it was a whole event, and you'd go a few times a summer. That's why I always love Florida because I'm 15 minutes to the beach, hang out for 2 hours, and go home and take a nap.
It still
you know?
still could be a whole event though, especially when you
Sure.
do have a family.
Yeah.
It's like 45 minutes to load up the car.
Yeah, that's it. When you got the beach card and the umbrellas
Yeah.
and the towels
And
and,
dad's
the snacks.
dad's
and the
like,
food.
why? I have to bring all this to the
Beer
beach?
cooler.
All right, 10 trips
Tap.
later. This should be fun.
I guess that's why
refrigerator.
pools are popular here too.
Yes,
you know.
probably so.
The other Florida city that has one of the best beaches in the top 10 for the United States is Destin, and that's pretty cool up there too. I haven't been to Destin, but I've been to Pensacola.
Yeah.
And the beaches out there are pretty cool too. I like the
Panhandle
wide
beaches are awesome, too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like the
absolutely.
wider beaches, and I love the sugar sand over the coarse sand we have down here. I remember when I grew up for a couple summers up in St. Augustine, going to walk on the beach, and you hear that squeaky sound.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The
That
squeaky,
squeaky sound. I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I just love that Florida on its own has like 10 different styles of beaches. So you can find the one that you want anywhere in Florida.
You can.
Yeah.
True.
Absolutely. I try to avoid the ones that have a lot of like hypodermic needles and stuff. Diapers.
Maybe that's why Fort Lauderdale's
sex
off the list.
condoms. Yeah,
It's a
pretty good.
Jersey.
You never know.
the shore.
Mike Rauch, if you get to the beach, enjoy the heck out of it, my friend. Whatever you get into this weekend, I hope it's a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You too.
And,
Thanks, everybody.
Jimmy D, I hope the same for you, my friend.
Thank you, Johnny. Busy day.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff to do.
When you get through that, I hope the rest is nice.
Yes.
Jimothy, thanks for everything. I hope you have a good remainder of your weekend.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend as well.
I know you're going to be sticking around with Greek and Joe. Knock out a sports show. Locker Room's coming up next. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate not only gives you 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday here on Real Radio, 9 until 11, but it's also a .com. Your one-stop real estate shop is floridatalkrealestate.com. You have a team of pros. You get them all at floridatalkrealestate.com. Look, know it, use it, love it, share it. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, stuck with a home, you don't know what to do, get the answers, the professional guidance that you need at floridatalkrealestate.com. Remember, on Facebook and YouTube as well. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next Saturday. Stick around. The Locker Room is next. Have a great weekend. Florida Talk Real Estate back next Saturday here on Real Radio.
Letting you know what girls talk about when the boys are not around. It's Pillow Talk with Franny and Megan.